lot of this and more. So let's start. The 4 pillars this year, obviously, are going to be chapters. We're going to have chapters again, 4 of them. We're going to have game health in there. We're going to have live balancing. And we intend to have quite a lot more new goals and new ways to experience the game. That's going to be a tricky one. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. First of all, 4 chapters. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yes, so the chapters are the major content update for the game. Players want and love them, So we want to provide them 4 exciting chapters, so new characters, new playstyle, so it's going to be amazing. And we are going to take the same pattern, so 1 chapter every 3 months.
Okay, can you maybe give us a little sneak peek at the next chapter?
The next chapter is going to be about Ghostface.
Really?
Secret?
Surprise.
Secret?
Surprise.
Swiftly moving on. What else are we going to do?
Yes, so we are going to release 2 brand new theme maps, but we want also to take the time to revisit all the maps. We reach a game state where we want to tweak those maps for a better overall experience.
We've learned quite a lot about how to make maps in the last 3 years.
Yes.
And we want to go back essentially and put that knowledge to good use in some of the existing maps.
Exactly. The game has evolved, players have evolved, and we want that those map updates reflect this evolution.
So that's going to be gameplay and art.
Yes, so in terms of art, we are going to upgrade the assets. So the world that we crafted, we feel richer and more immersive. And on the gameplay-wise, we are going to do several changes, very exciting. So Dead by Daylight is about chaos. When you enter in a map, it should be tense.
Yep.
What kind of map you're going to play with. And we want to bring back this
the uncertainty.
It's the uncertainty, learning, exploring, going out of the comfort zone. That's going to be very important for us. So we're going to add new tiles for more variations.
So those are overall changes to the way maps are made, but we're also going to spend some effort to go and revisit some specific maps that need a little extra love, right?
Yes, exactly. We are going to do some changes because now we have the tool to tweak for example, some very procedural logic, such as the palette spawning, the density of the hook. And the first map that's going to get a makeover is going to be Madame Fresco.
That's much appreciated, I'm sure, by our players. And with that, obviously, it would be silly to, put some work in there without going to help the man that's in charge of that place.
So we talk a lot about it on the dev update or even on the post. Highly demanded by the community, we are going to release the rework of Freddy's in the next mid-chapter.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
You didn't do it personally, but I'll thank you personally.
Very
for
important.
That. Yeah. That's great. Game health. Let's move on to game health. How are we going to put, our money where our mouth is on the game health front for this?
As we mentioned, game health was an important pillar last year, and it remains an important thing this year for us. It comes in the shape of a few major components we want to improve in the game. The first thing we wanted to work and improve in the game for players was matchmaking.
Yep.
For the past 6 months or so, we've really revisited what was in place when it comes to matchmaking in order to improve on 2 specific facets of this. One of which is eliminating extreme wait times for certain players.
So the outliers in the curve, the people
exactly.
who wait for hours.
We know that some players in certain circumstances are going to wait tens of minutes, and that's something we really wanted to trim down as much as we could. And that's something we've been working towards. The other thing is we want to control how players are paired together based on their ranks, based on their geolocation. And that's something we're taking a lot of effort to improving in this new improved algorithm in matchmaking.
That's the thing also, because there are some tools that we can use to help, because obviously one big part of the matchmaking is you need people to want to play both roles within good ratios. Depending on the time of day and the populations, sometimes it can be difficult, but we have ways to help with that, right?
Exactly, and that's the difficult thing with matchmaking, and something we're learning as we're going along. There's some things we don't control. If there's a very severe imbalance between the number of killers and survivors in a certain region or at a certain time of the day, there's a lot of fluctuation that happens. That's something we don't control, but at least we have some tweaks, some params that we can change to make that better and alleviate the load for everyone.
And one of the main reasons, well, other than the fact that matchmaking is critically important, but we had to revisit matchmaking anyway because of another big change that's coming.
From a strictly a technical standpoint, matchmaking is leading us directly into dedicated servers. The new matchmaking will allow for that, and it's really, really exciting to move towards that. Our initial tests happened in the month of May or late April during the PTB. And it's been really, really fun to put that in the hands of player and seeing how the scaling reacted to the player base we had on the PTB.
It was mostly really fun because everything worked as intended.
It always is a lot better when it goes when it's positive than anything else. So.
And dedicated servers will bring us the tools to do something that's been asked quite a lot to the helping on disconnects and how we deal with that.
Absolutely. It's always been a problem that we don't necessarily know how to handle a player disconnection because it's difficult for us to detect who's disconnecting since we didn't have a third party or a different entity that is responsible for making decisions. Now with dedicated servers, we'll be able to better understand who is disconnecting and make sure other players get rewarded appropriately, and then that's going to lead us into giving a set of tools to our community team to make sure those who disconnect too frequently are going to be treated in a special way.
Oh, okay. It's a mild way of putting it. I'm sure some people have very vigorous desires regarding that, but we'll leave that to our very competent community team to deal with. Let's talk a little bit about optimization. We've done, I think that patch 11.5 was probably the biggest improvement we've done. The players, especially on consoles, saw a big improvement. How are we going to continue on that?
Optimization, we talked about it, started last year, and it's something that's going to be ongoing for the next months, obviously. Really, the first thing for us was about understanding where the game was at right now. So we've built ourselves a set of tools that allowed to track properly the state of the game, patch after patch, over the different platforms. And now we're in a much better place to understand this. The second step was really making sure the game ran properly at all times. So we've looked at systems that are actively running, such as network communication, survivors running around, or gameplay systems that are always active and always running in the game to make sure there wasn't something that was too costly that was always affecting negatively the game.
And once we've established a good baseline, we'll move on to those specific spikes, like some powers or combination of events that creates.
Exactly. We know that at least the things that are all running all the time is something we're addressing as we go, but we're really going to shift the focus on specific perks, specific powers, who are either causing big spikes or, when active, will simply cause a general drop of frame rate for all players involved.
That's good.
It's really exciting to actually keep moving forward with this. So.
Yeah, because that's a big thing also, is that it used to be part of the process, but now there's a team that's dedicated for that, right?
Yeah, we have a team of 5 engineers who have been working on optimization for the last 6 months now, and it's going to be actively going on in the future too.
That's great. Yes, there's another little thing that we need to talk about here. Please. It seems like a small thing, but it comes with some big benefits.
Absolutely. We can see it in two parts here. We want to bring the friend management and the friend display inside the game directly. So all the friends list, the people that you have friended on the platform you're playing, on PlayStation, on Xbox, on Switch eventually, all these friends are going to be directly listed inside the game.
So the reflection for the players will mostly be that instead of seeing that overlay from the first party pop in, you'll just be doing that through the game interface.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it does bring us the possibility to bring in a feature that's been asked for a little bit.
By internalizing the management of friends and the display of friends and invites inside the game, it allows us a friend requeue, we call, but basically Survive with Friends group will be able to be maintained together game after game because the party is not going to live in the game. It's going to live on our servers instead of what it is right now.
I think that's the most beautiful thing you've said tonight.
It's really, really exciting.
I've been waiting for that for 80 years, I think.
Yeah. 34 months, I believe, is the correct number. So yeah, we see all the work that's going to happen in the next few months. All of these updates are coming in before Chapter 13 or around that. 2 very important milestones also that we will be crossing really soon. We want to invite more people to play the game. We want to put the game into your hands in many different ways. So the game is coming to the Switch You've heard it here for the very first time, September 24th, 2019.
Was there a woo?
Have footage. Yes, woo! It's time for woo. And for everybody out there who has pockets, we are bringing the game to mobile this year.
Yeah.
I will not go in details on that one. This is going to be handled by our mobile team, which is somewhere around there. Yay, mobile team. And they will be doing a big event and talk about all the details in the next few weeks. So more info there. Other than that, let's go into what cool new features we have in store.
I know it's my
Dave.
turn because my heartbeat is rising.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. So yeah, we're very excited to announce this new mode, the Archive. Not a mode, sorry. It's a new way to play. It's
not a mode.
It's not a mode. It enriches the game that we already have, but it adds a new way to play, new goals to the player. Some players have played for 7,000 million hours already, so
That's true.
we want to bring something new in the game right now. So let's go. Let's
All
present what the Archive is.
Well, I heard it expands the universe.
It does. So here's what the Archive does more than expand the universe. So really, it's a platform to be able to explore the lore of what Dead by Daylight is.
It's one of the things that's constantly asked. More story about the characters.
Yeah,
in the world.
there's a big craving, and of course, because we're a multiplayer game, we don't have a lot of access or places where we can explore the story of our character. Every chapter we release these new characters, they have a bio, some add-ons and perks to explain their background, and then that's it. So the Archive is the perfect platform to be able to explore these stories more in depth.
There's so much more we want to share with players. There's so
Absolutely,
much going on
absolutely.
inside this
great.
head, but also and the team's head as a whole. So it's really a great platform for us to use.
Absolutely. Then, of course, there's going to be new things to do, so new goals. We'll cover that a little bit later. And it's going to be a new way to collect more cosmetics. So on top of everything that we're doing
So
as
we're not going to
rewards.
stop putting new stuff in the store all
No,
the time.
absolutely not.
Okay.
But this is a new way to be able to unlock rewards like cosmetic, but more. We'll discuss that as well.
Okay. You want to talk about this
Absolutely.
beautiful piece of art?
So here's the concept of the Archive. Of course, it's work in progress. So with the Archive, we'll be bringing the players into a new area of the entity, and we'll introduce a new support character called
that's
the
the
Observer.
hand there.
Yeah, he's called the Observer, the Archivist. There's multiple names, even the Prisoner. But we'll not discuss about the story today. It's something that the players will have to discover through the years. What I want to say today is what is to be expected in the Archive. So the Observer has a very unique power where he can probe the entity fog and find memories and stories that are stored in the memory of the entity. You know, every time a character is taken by the entity, all of the memories of that character goes into the fog somewhere. It's stored somewhere.
That's how all the universe is sort of created.
Exactly.
It's from bits and bobs from different people.
And then that's kind of forgotten. It's not used by the entity, but the Observer can probe and find these stories for
probing.
reasons that we'll see later. Yeah, probing. Right here on the concept, we see a little Claudette. So this is one of the story we're going to explore. It's an example. So when, a little bit of backstory, what made Claudette that we know. Last thing on stories, we want to be generous with the lore of the game. So every Archive, so every 3 months, in between the chapter release, we want to release a new tome on the mid-chapter. And we want to release a new tome. And the tome is going to have survivor stories, killer stories, and one story that expands the universe that make the story of the Dead by Daylight progress.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, let me get that straight. So we have the chapters that are going to be coming every 3 months, and then we have the stuff that keeps coming in the store all the time, and then we'll add on top of that every 6 weeks in between the chapters. We're going to put the Archives, which is going to bring a lot of different quests and missions and things to do, plus a ton of new content.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So what we're seeing here is what the player will actually be doing in the Archive. So what you're going to see in a tome is a web of quests and mission, a bit like the Blood Web, but with different things that you need to accomplish in the game. So the player decides what path they want to use to be able to unlock all the goodies in there. And there's some survivor mission, there's some killer mission, there are some that are more global, there are some that are really specific, and a lot of them are also based around the story that we're currently exploring.
So each tome has its own theme and its own story.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And the missions are going to be linked somewhat to this story that we're exploring.
And the rewards too.
Yeah. So what we see here is that, of course, you'll be able to progress your character using blood points that are rewards of the nodes themselves, of the missions. But you're also going to unlock the stories bit by bit. And once you complete each of the story, you will unlock an animatic that shows your, all the characters that we have in situations that are impossible to see normally in the game.
Yeah.
You can also see here charms. So there is a
I was gonna
new
ask about
cosmetic.
that.
Yeah, it's a new cosmetic that we will release with the archive called the Charm. So these are little trinkets that you can equip on Survivor's belt and also on the Killer Hook.
Ooh.
So as part of the archive, it's important to understand that there's 4 difficulty levels in the archive, so difficulty of mission. And when you complete one of the difficulty level, you will unlock this completion charm that is unique to that tome, meaning that it's the ultimate bragging right.
So
Complete
if I'm
everything.
not done by the time the next tome comes out, can I still work on it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The archives tome will be available to all forever. It's part of the normal game. Everybody has access to it.
Awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was the question.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
This is the answer.
Okay, thank you.
There's more with the archive as well. So the Rift is something else that comes with the archive. So when the observer probes inside the fog, it creates a rift. The rift is not permanent, it's something temporary. So it's for the 3 months of that specific tome that we just released. And in the rift, the player will be able to unlock more cosmetic. So here's a little concept, obviously work in progress. So in the rift, by completing quests in the tome that is currently active, and by just playing normally, you'll be able to evolve into tiers, into 2 tracks of rewards. So
Okay.
the first track is free for everybody that is participating in, there you go. So every, tiers in the free track will reward in different cosmetic. And if you want to spice it up, you can also participate in the paid track, which has even more cosmetic. And what's important to understand here is that the cosmetic rewarded in these tracks are related to the stories of the tome that we're exploring.
That's really, really cool. Oh yes, there's a big message on
Very
the screen right there.
Yeah,
So-
very important. So
forwards.
everything in the Rift is absolutely no pay to win. It's all about cosmetic. That's it.
No extra camouflage outfits, no ninja outfits.
Just the pink neon flashing ninja is allowed.
perfect. It's exactly like we've always done, like
Yeah.
the original. That's perfect. Thank you so much for that.
No worries.
The tentative date right now for this is around mid-chapter 13. We say tentative at this point because this is so big, this is so important for us, and it's so chock full of goodness. We want to make sure that if we release it, it is because it's perfect.
Yes.
And so we think it's probably going to be around chapter 13.5 that it's going to be ready.
Can't wait.
Other than that, we also want to go and rework some of the way the seasons work and the rank works, right?
Yeah, this is the other big component of Dead by Daylight, of course, the rank and the season. And what we shipped with 3 years ago kind of falls flat after 3 years. You get your rank 1 and that's it. So we want to make sure through an initiative this year that we review the rank and the season so that it's more meaningful. So that means rewards, it means a longer season, it means a better progression in there, so there's going to be more rank to evolve in and rewards to unlock. Also, what we have right now is in the rank is comparing killers with survivors.
Yeah.
And we think that this doesn't make a lot of sense since they have very different roles. So what we want to redo with this rank rework is to compare killers with killers, the trapper with trappers, so that you have, as a player, your own progression in there. You want to get better and compare to your game, and then compare with other players that are playing the same kind of thing. The other very important aspect is, our game is amazing because it is chaotic, because it creates weird scenarios. It's unpredictable. There's so many different components. And of course, we balance as much as we can this experience, but we do love when it gets crazy as well. So we want to embrace this chaos and make sure that the game rewards you accordingly based on how chaotic it is.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
a
it.
tall order.
Yeah, but it's really, really exciting.
So you're going to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. All right, so that's essentially our roadmap for year 4. It's chock full of goodness, but I want to say something. So last year when we released our year 3 roadmap, we put a lot of stuff in there, and we delivered, I think, probably like 95% of what we put in there. The 1 or 2 changes were because, you know, things change, and that's not the priority. But we also delivered a lot of stuff that wasn't in there, and it's most likely what's going to happen. So this is the things that we know we're going to give players for the next year, and there's a lot around this, which is the stuff that we want to give players or that we don't know yet that players want, and that's probably going to come in also. So yeah, hopefully you're as excited as I am about all of this. Thank you very much, all of you, for
It's a
joining me
pleasure.
here and taking a second to do this. Up